So with the major concluded and all of the new souvenir packages and charms coming out, I went back and rewatched the famous Apex charm of him flipping off the crowd at the Austin Major. And it had me thinking, this whole class of items, souvenir highlights, might be a very good investment opportunity for us. So allow me to explain. Now I'm sure you're aware, but for the uninformed, Valve introduced souvenir charms with the Austin 2025 Major last summer. What they are, they're just little dog tags you attach to your gun, and if someone's spectating you during the game, they could click on the charm and it'll bring up a highlight from a specific round at a specific match during the Austin Major. You can move them from gun to gun, unlike the stickers on the souvenir guns, and you can also sell them for a separate price, as you now get 2 chances to get something good as opposed to only 1. And there's definitely some very interesting highlights Valve decided to put in the game. This one is of Sphinx of Mouse Sports, where he is on a lurk in train. Right, he is idle walking for 15 seconds, and as he engages in a gunfight, he immediately dies. And that's the entirety of the clip, and it is now immortalized forever. We have very well-known player Simple with 2 incredible highlights. One of him missing 2 op shots and then pulling out his knife and then dying. And then one of him trying to shoot at a player's foot, but it doesn't hit because the hitboxes suck. And some of these lowlights, while they are objectively terrible clips, are even, if not more expensive than the actual nice highlight charms. No surprise there, CS2 skins are essentially meme coins and should be treated as such. And while the charms are funny, if they don't produce like a marginal revenue increase for Valve, there's a decent chance they stop doing these charms altogether, which in and of itself could pose as a great investment opportunity for you, although I wouldn't put my chips in that basket. So let's look at the actual risks and benefits to this investment. Do you like free stuff? Well, if you do, the wonderful ladies and gentlemen over at skinsmonkey.com, today's sponsor, have put together such a beautiful Christmas event. From now until January 11th, simply log on the website and look at that top banner. It'll say claim free gift. Now the gift can either be a new skin, it could be on-site balance, or it could be an increased deposit bonus. And if you're a smart investor, you'll use code MIKE, which will give you an extra 5% bonus, which can bring you all the way up to 50%. And the more trades you make on the website, the more gifts Skins Monkey will send to you. I got an M4A4 Evil Damien, so it's not like they're giving you Safari meshes either. These are real nice skins. In addition to that, they've also prepared an advent calendar. Simply go on the website every day and claim an entry into a huge pool of giveaways. And again, these are nice skins. Ruby Knife is the top prize right now. So thank you to Skins Monkey for sponsoring, and thank you also for putting together such a nice and wonderful event for the community. Now the biggest reason is timing here. Now as I said, this was introduced in the Austin Major last summer and had its reintroduction in Budapest. So out of all of the majors that have happened in Counter-Strike, we only have 2 with charms so far. So we're early. You know the adoption curve? We're not necessarily innovators, but we're like early adopters, right? Nobody's buying the souvenir packages for the charms specifically right now. If the charms do increase in quality over time, and they don't treat it as if it was a bonus to the gun they're receiving, you could see a slight shift in sentiment, which can increase the value of these. And if Counter-Strike continues to grow at the rate at which it does in terms of player base, then Austin and Budapest will have the lowest supply of these charms that we see in the foreseeable future. Combine that with accounts getting banned, trade banned, accounts just simply being left dormant, and just a wide array of charms that you could possibly get, the really good, highly desirable charms might be super low in supply in due time. So in that sense, they kind of remind me of early stickers. Now, I'm not saying they're going to reach sticker levels, right? The fundamentals just aren't there. Charms are generally less liked. Stickers get destroyed when you scrape them. Charms don't. So supply doesn't decrease in that way. But the timing of it all, the adoption pattern, we're early. And even if charms don't go up a crazy amount, the entrance at this timing could at least pose some returns for you. On top of this, while I think both majors are pretty good at the moment, Austin's sale did get cut short. And while the headline story was always about the sticker capsules and them being canceled early, a lot of people didn't redeem their souvenir packages. So that's a lot of potential charms that never actually hit the market and never will hit the market. So while the hype died down from the novelty of it all in Budapest, Austin still might have a lower supply because of that fact. But there's also risks that come with the charm. First risk is going to be slabs. Now slabs don't necessarily directly compete with the charm in terms of like aesthetic and purpose. However, the slab itself introduced like basically 10,000 charms into the game. So that's direct competition for what you're putting on your gun. And it's direct competition in that sense because you can only put 1 charm per gun. If you like 4 different stickers, you could put 5 stickers on your gun, all different. You can only put 1 charm though. And if you want to take those stickers off and put another sticker on, you have to scrape it and get rid of it forever. Charms, you just take it off and swap it out for another one. So not only is sticker demand theoretically 5 times higher, 6 times higher if you use a slab, it also doesn't decrease in supply in the same way stickers do. So what you're banking on with this investment is that the player base grows, and there's enough just discontinued accounts that have these charms that no longer circulate them anymore. which can cause spikes in prices across the charms. So this is a longer play. So you're gonna have to foresee a much longer timeline, right? Like 2 to 3 orders of magnitude longer than a sticker because of the supply fact. However, for these 2 majors and maybe a few of the next ones before we see sentiment shifts, the timeline may be a little bit shorter and the risk reward might be a little bit higher because some of them are super cheap right now anyway. But let's get specific. Let me tell you the ones I'm looking at personally right now. And I found this really cool resource on Twitter. It's a website that has every single highlight from the last 2 majors. So you could click on the player you want, the team, and then see every highlight each player has. So it makes it super easy to see which ones you think have the most potential. Now keep in mind, I'm making this video 2 days after the Budapest charms came out. Therefore, I have no price data. And also you can't buy them, you kind of have to unbox them. So if you see a charm you like and you think it's underpriced just as all the supply floods the market, that might be your first best opportunity to buy. Obviously wait a little bit because, people always list higher than it's supposed to be when they first come out. But like a couple days later, that might be your time for entry. The first one, the classic, Apex Strikes Back. This is the one I talked about at the start of the video. It's where the Vitality team was being announced and you could see Apex flipping off 2 oversized birds to the American crowd. Right, this is an aggressively French video, and it's not an in-game highlight, it's an out-of-game highlight, which inherently makes it unique. Combine this with the fact of Vitality's dominance across the year 2025, even though the price is pretty high right now, I could still see it going up from here. See, the most recent match we've seen, Twists versus Vitality in the grand final on Overpass. Twists wins a key 1v1 to cut the lead from 11 to 10. And this one's just an absurd clip. He makes the score 11-1 to prevent the 13-0. And Kerrigan, the IGL, goes absolutely batshit. The low lights we mentioned before, right? The one where Simple whiffs 2 shots and then tries to pull out his knife and dies. The one where he tries to shoot someone's foot. Sphinx standing AFK in CT spawn. And another cool one is Sphinx I found where he just gets hit with 2 nades and that's it. The video ends. However, there's some objectively good clips that are probably a little bit better if you want to be a little bit safer in your investment style or whatever. First one is the 9-10 ace on Mirage. Off base, it's a long clip too. It's like the all 5 kills with no cuts basically. And if you like the Mongols, their underdog story during that entire major run, this is a great charm to pick up. Also from Twist, but this time in the semifinals against Na'Vi, I feel like this was the most memorable play from the entire major. Right, contextually, FaZe was 0-2 in stage 1. They fought back. They made it all the way to the grand finals, which I'm not sure it's ever happened in that way before. So a really cool story behind it, which I'm not sure it's ever happened in that way before. So a really cool story behind it. And unlike a lot of the charms, this one's actually cut really well. I think they knew how much of a highlight this one was actually going to be. So this one I could definitely see being very expensive. And like the FaZe vs Na'Vi charm, which took place in the semifinals, that's where I may try to focus on where I would buy the charms specifically. Now, hear my logic out. When the first round of games happen in the quarterfinals, I feel like you have a sizable group of people who just immediately start ripping Souvenir cases open immediately. And then you have the other group of people who wait for the grand final. Semifinals are the weird, odd middle child in this situation. So barring any super intense historic matchups, these are probably going to be the selection of team matchups that get open the least, and thus will have the least amount of Souvenir charms associated with it in supply. Now I will include this section, when do you sell, because it's a section a lot of people don't have in their videos, and I think it's equally as important as what should you buy and when should you buy it. If a pro player retires, like Kerrigan's 80, maybe you buy some of his charms, because once he retires you'll see a bump. You sell, because you can take that money and rotate it into another player who you think is going to retire soon also, and then just have that cycle repeat. If Valve announces that the Souvenir charms were simply not profitable enough and they discontinue them, I would sell some on the hype, but I would definitely hold some. Or conversely, if the popularity just isn't there after a couple of years, it could be time to cut your losses, even if the charms stay at a solid price. That sideways movement is wasted opportunity cost that you could have in another item that's actually going up. Now, I could be completely wrong. Charms can stay at 30 cents forever, and the market just might never care. But if you told me that a team in 2014 would eventually have a sticker worth the price of a house, I would have also called you a nut job. CS2 has fundamentals, like I say, that are grounded in actual economic principles, but profit is made in this market by shifts in sentiment. Prices move based on things going on in the community, nostalgia, scarcity, and this is an opportunity to cash in on all 3. And like I said before, I'll leave the website in the description where you can see every charm for yourself and find the one that you think is the best. If you find any cool ones, let me know. Now, in the words of Apex, or gestures really, fuck you. See you later.